Good evening, folks. Professor Finn here. Everyone's favorite funeral service educator and homeless mall Santa. Sporting the Halloween logo and found me a nice vintage 1980s new old stock Ghostbusters hat. You can see I've solved the power problem to the proton pack in the back. Let's go ahead and get the chat moved up to the front. Get the screen shared. We got some stuff to talk about today. If you haven't already, like, share, subscribe, get your notifications on so you know when I'm live streaming. Going to be recording some videos, if not over the weekend, first at the beginning of this week. Gonna try to get some restorative art up there. Had someone request some color theory, so I'm gonna try to get that lecture recorded and have that put up. I wanted to do that today, and I just ran out of time trying to get other things done. So where is my share screen? There's my share screen. Let's get the chat up. Ella, good evening. Got some questions already. All right, let's dive into that. Oh. Ladies and gentlemen, Howard Beckham of Florida State College at Jacksonville has entered the chat. Cue the guest meme intro.
The question is not how far. The question is, do you possess the Constitution, the depth of faith to go as far as is needed?
One of my favorite movies, The Boondock Saints. If you haven't seen it, you should see it. So let's get right to Ella's question. Up, ladies and gentlemen. My favorite royal subject has entered the chat. Let's cue her intro. She doesn't know this is coming.
Have a care with my name, you will wear it out.
Another one of my favorite movies, Shakespeare in Love, the Queen of England. So thanks for dialing in from across the pond. Nice to see you. Hope you are well. Feel free to blow up the chat as I get into the chat. So Ella writes, hello, Professor. Any advice for those who have completed their internship but cannot find a funeral home to work for? First thing that I would say try to do is get involved with your local funeral home association. If there's a county one, start there. If there's a state one, jump into that. If you want to send an email to askbigbadfinn@gmail.com and say what area you're looking at or living in or something, it might be able to help you out with trying to find local organizations or people involved. May even be able to find a resource for you. Generally, if you are in a market that is flooded, that is extremely rare and like extraordinarily bad luck, like super bad luck, because there are so many areas that are looking for licensed professionals. Are there any other fields we can utilize our skills? You might be able to do something with a coroner's office or a medical examiner's office. Education, funeral service education. So if you have a bachelor's degree, you might be able to get a part-time teaching job if you have a local mortuary college. If you don't have a local one, might be able to find an online school that is looking for online adjunct professors. Doing something with the license is better than nothing. And while staying in like funeral service ed, at least you're keeping the knowledge and the skill set up. So, that can be useful. Those are some ideas. In regards to how often should you circle back around to a funeral home to see if they are hiring after already applying, I'd probably say give it about a week or two at the most before you circle back and say, hey, just want to confirm that you got my resume, could answer any questions, can I set up a time to come in and interview? One of the questions you probably need to ask is that position still open? So often I feel that people leave positions on their job site, the job section of their website, that the job's not even there anymore. They're just using it as bait to get resumes for the future. So, you think there's a job and there's not. That's a perfectly acceptable question to ask. Still hiring for that position? If you are, can I submit a resume? What's the process? I've submitted one. No one's, I haven't heard any responses. When should I anticipate a response? I can tell you that when I was in Miami, corporate firms probably take anywhere between 3 to 6 weeks to get back to you. And that's coming from my students at the time who were telling me when they finally got a call back. I can tell you that when I applied for a corporate job one time, it was almost 40 days before I got a call. And I kind of laughed when they called because it was kind of like, hey, you still looking for a job? And it's like, that's a hell of a way to open the conversation. So don't be surprised if you've applied for a corporate position that, there's probably layers to that till they finally get around to you. As for where you can utilize your degree outside of being directors and embalmers, you really can't. That's the disadvantage of being a workforce degree. Same thing in nursing. Like if you get a nursing degree, what are some things you can do outside of nursing? Well, not much. You're still going to be in allied health doing something, and or you might go teach. So really, if you have a bachelor's degree, you have the full license, online learning might be a thing for you until you find that job. The goal is get in front of people. So again, if you have a state association, they have an annual meeting, try to get in there and meet some people, walk around, introduce yourself. If your state association has a classified section, they may allow you to post a looking for position free of charge to you and hoping to connect you with an employer. So 100%, try to utilize some of these things that are out there. And again, if you need something, if there's a way that I can assist, by all means, shoot me an email at askbigbadfin@gmail.com. Let me know what market you're in, and we'll see if I can hook you up with something. Pastor Beckham, it is good to see you. Hope all is well. I hear the weather is nice over in Florida. The weather is certainly nice here in Texas. And yeah, as to why I'm running late, like a complete idiot, be honest, I forgot to hit the go live button. So when I reset up OBS Studio, which is what I use for my live streaming, there is a button I have to push so that when I say start streaming, it automatically goes live and posts everything on YouTube. And I did not hit that. So I was sitting here setting things up, acknowledging chat, and realized that I had not gone live. So thank you, Howard, when you said, hey, Joe must be looking for the right hat. No, I was sitting here and I'm like, okay, something's not working. And I realized it's because I didn't hit the go live button. Good to see. So Tiff writes, good to see you as well. Been on a little hiatus, but all's well. We'll have to catch up soon. Please, by all means, man. Hey, always interested to see, how you're doing over there, what's going on, what ways you're rocking the funeral service world. Let's talk about the first article I brought up. Are we in the midst of a paradigm shift from services selection to memorialization selection by the consumer? I thought this was pretty cool. Rather recent article yesterday. So, as things seem to do in my life, circumstances came together this week to have me reflect on changes in the death care profession or industry. First of all, here's 3 items that came together to make me think about changes in our business. 1, I attended the funeral of a longtime member of my Bible study. 2, I researched and produced an article that appeared in Tuesday's Funeral Director Daily about the Hollywood Forever Cemetery and their premium product offerings. You can access that article here. We're going to actually look at that article. I recalled and then revisited the National Funeral Directors Association recent press release about Americans choosing cremation at record rates. I had that pulled up. I didn't think I was going to cover that because, just didn't. What it all got me to wondering is if the American consumer is in the midst of or will soon be selecting death care by their memorialization choice rather than their service choice. Here's part of my thought process. For almost all of my career as a funeral director, consumers at need or pre-need would come into the funeral home and tell us of their death care ideas. If that choice included the use of a cemetery, such as an earth burial, entombment, or urn placement, they usually asked us about our thoughts on different cemeteries. In that format, I would suggest that the consumer selected death care via the funeral home provider they chose. However, in today's world, especially when a cemetery like Hollywood Forever offers free cremation to those who purchase premium cemetery memorialization, I think a different process may be in place. In cases like that, the cremation or direct cremation seems to me to simply be a means to the end, and the consumer is not concerned about who handles the physical means of turning the dead human body into the cremated remains. They are more concerned about their purchase for memorialization. In this situation, I would suggest that the consumer selected death care via the memorialization provider they chose. Yeah, logic is solid. This thought further deepened in my mind at the funeral of my friend. While he was buried with a traditional service through my old funeral home, I find myself at the reception luncheon visiting with another local couple about who happened to be about my age. As any retired funeral director knows, sitting in this position, we become open game for all kinds of death care questions. Abso-freaking-lutely, man. Well, this couple let me know that they're going to be cremated, but more importantly, what is most on their mind is where they will be permanently memorialized. As I listened, it dawned on me that their main concern is not about their funeral, the service, or who will cremate them, but where they will be permanently memorialized. And for one like me who believes in permanent memorialization, I don't think that is an uncommon thought. So getting back to Hollywood Forever's offer of free cremations, my guess is if this couple bought a premium niche or columbarium from someone who offered free cremation with that purchase, they very well would take them up on that offer. My guess is that with this couple and many others, if the permanent memorialization purchase is what they want, then they would be happy to accept free cremation, and if they wanted a memorial service, would do so at their church without a funeral home participating. Finally, in looking at the aforementioned NFDA press release, it predicts by 2045 an 82.3% cremation rate as opposed to today's 63.4% cremation rate. It predicts a burial rate of only 13% in that same year as compared to today's 31.6%. Probably even more ominous in today's service selection versus memorial selection article, it shows that religiously unaffiliated has almost doubled in recent years with no signs of that stopping. And if we are not affiliated with the church or somewhere else with a history of services, will services be less common, and the idea of picking one's death care providers by the who or where they pick their memorialization option be more common? I don't have that answer, but I think it's a situation that needs looking into. While funeral homes have always been businesses, they have not always been consumer-friendly or subtly aggressive in consumer acquisition, many times simply sitting back and making an income out of a consumer's necessity when the time arrived. In a world of new customer acquisition techniques by others in the greater death care world, are funeral homes vulnerable to be left behind or not even thought of in some consumer choice instances? So really what I'm thinking here is this is a classic example of the freebie is the service is becoming the freebie. I can't say in the 5 years that I was in practice that I ever had a family walk in and say, this is what I'm thinking. I don't really care if, I get buried or cremated, but this is where I want to go. I would be interested to see how much this takes off. And obviously, I think I want to take a look at Hollywood Forever here. So let's go take a peek at this. Hollywood Forever Cemetery. Boink. I like this. Full service cemetery, funeral home, cremation service provider, and cultural center. That's cool. Boom, 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 boom. Free direct cremation with purchase of a cremation niche, plot, or tree memorial. Starting prices $5,500. Yeah, $5,500. You better be able to throw in a cheapo cremation. Like, come on, man. That's crazy. Oh, and standard prices are $3,450 higher. That's crazy to me. That is legit crazy to me. Because if that's considered like competitive or cheap in California, bro, Florida, $5,000, that gets you a memorial cremation, body viewed, all of that, probably included casket, you name it. But I like the idea that, hey, if you think about where you want to be, we'll include, the disposition basically free of charge. I don't see that catching on with burial, because burial is much more costly in the long run. But seems like a cool cemetery to check out. I think I've seen some videos with some of the stuff they do with like the movies on the lawn that they do with the cemetery and whatnot. Obviously, if I ever go back to California, I want to visit the cemetery because they got some like famous movie people in there. But okay. New season of South Park is out, by the way. Saw that. Another one, legal issues in an article reappearing for the second month as top read leads our list of most popular articles over the past 30 days. So we are going to look at the Indiana Court Death Doula one. I think I've got the Arkansas. Yep, I have that one up there. Funeral Woman Lead is defining a path for the changing face of funeral service. We can look at that one because I don't think I have that one pulled up. Oh yeah, that goes back to August. Just gonna scan through it real quick. Okay, here we go. Funeral Woman Lead has recruited some of the most prominent women in the profession to their management team and board. This group makes me more excited than ever that funeral service has room for everybody. Boop, 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 boom. So here's Funeral Woman Lead. Okay, 1 year leadership academy. That's cool. Annual wellness summit. I think one of my campus presidents attended that. Coaching and mentoring programs. Dude, look how much is going on with coaching and mentoring. It's almost like that's important. Now, shout out to the Independent Funeral Directors of Florida. They had me in Clearwater, Florida a little bit ago, and I was moderating their leadership, and we were talking about coaching and mentoring. So, not a surprise to see that other organizations are also falling in line to offer things like that because it's probably important. Okay, there's the team. Who we got? So I'm going to butcher her last name, Lisa Bao, or Boy. I know Patty Neuswanger. Kristen Ernst. Don't know that I know her. Leslie Kovalchik. Don't know her. And Taylor Krabs. Don't know her. But hey, at least I know one person on there. Patty's really cool. So let's see. What does Lisa do? Lisa is a visionary trailblazer in funeral service and fierce advocate for women's leadership in death care. Is former third-generation owner and CEO of one of Midwest leading funeral home, cremation, and cemetery companies. She transformed a single-family home into a multifaceted business, serving thousands of families annually. Cool. Funeral director, national speaker, educator, business coach, and industry change maker. She was son John May introduced their company to Parklawn. Okay, so she's part of Parklawn. One of my board members, Jay Dodds, he's in Parklawn Corporation. This goes more about how she founded. Okay, so she's got a couple of different things that she's done. Your Funeral Coach LLC, providing coaching, mentor. Okay, so she's building on a platform she's already established. That's good business sense right there. Host of Your Funeral Coach Talks, top-ranked podcast and funeral service. Okay, cool. I mean, dude, she's literally checking all the boxes of what you need to do. Senior Director of Operations. Yeah, I know Patty from NFDA, from National Funeral Directors Association. I'm not going to read all their bios, but it's important enough to say that, hey, if you don't know about this organization, need to know more, come visit their website, check it all out. I definitely need to pay more attention to this website. So I like the idea that they have a professional counselor as part of this. I think that's a really important perspective to have. I guess if I was going to be critical, not a lot of funeral directors on here. Which that is not a requirement by any stretch of the imagination. So we have some more board members. Okay, I know Alicia from Kelco. Yep, she's cool. She's cool. Hey, make sure when you folks are at NFDA, stop by the Kelco booth. Say hi. She's really cool. Another thing that's cool about Kelco is they always basically have a table at the American board Funeral Service Education. We have our little vendor expo when we have our education conference. Kelco's been always very supportive of that. Okay, so we do have some more people. I guess I find the website a little confusing in as much as I would expect like all the board members to be in one place, but if again, that's just me being critical of their website. Melissa's an LFD? Okay. I mean, cool organization. And I know they're doing good things and very popular because I'm seeing them like pop up everywhere. So here's the one about Hollywood Forever. Okay, Hollywood Forever is honored to announce the opening of the Gower Mausoleum, a new architectural landmark in Los Angeles and the tallest mausoleum in the United States. Rising 5 stories above our historic grounds, this contemporary structure provides space for more than 50,000 loved. Okay, now we know why they need people to come in with free cremations at $5,500 a pop. That answers that question. Okay, well, there's a picture of it. Okay, y'all correct me if I'm being critical. It looks like a half-built Lego structure. Maybe I'm not into modern architecture, but oof. I don't know what I was expecting, but I can tell you I wasn't expecting this. Open breezeways, marble interiors, wide passageways. Okay, how about you give us some peeksies here? So one, the sunlight does not do this any justice if it is white, like some of these other pictures. Okay, this looks like... I guess that's real. I thought for a second it might be conceptual. So it looks... Okay, so this does not do what we are looking at justice, clearly. Okay, yeah. Much more white. Because I was like, why does that just look like concrete? Ugh. Killing me. I like the addition of the plants. That looks nice. I wonder if it's intentional that I'm not seeing places to sit. That's cool. That looks really cool. Yeah, I don't see a lot of places to sit. Nope, that's stairs. That's definitely stairs. Okay, so from color choices, it kind of looks better. I still think it looks like a half-finished Lego structure. And my guess is the 5500 stuff, that's probably these higher ones that you can't actually get to. Closer you get to eye level where your family can actually like look at it, touch it, or see it, interact with it, probably the price goes up. But all right. In the city, an area that has some unique architecture such as the Hollywood Hill sign, Los Angeles Airport design, and the round former Capitol Records building, the Gower Museum will be the newest talk of the town. Okay. I'll just nod my head and say yes. The Hollywood Forever website also makes note the high-rise mausoleum will be the tallest mausoleum in the United States and is expected to be a cultural landmark and a sanctuary of remembrance. In my world, we call that hyperbole, but all right. Premium products, I think, may be moving through a period in time where many economists believe we're in a K-shaped economy, meaning the economy is not the same for all, meaning that some people with assets are getting more assets, and some people without assets are not growing any savings or assets at all. That's the K-shaped economy. I also think that in an economy where cremation and not traditional burial is the norm, that cemeteries established generations ago with the idea of selling burial plots in 4 foot by 6 foot dimensions might need to think outside the box and innovate their product mix. Okay. When you look at this page entitled Hollywood Forever Premium Services, it appears that is exactly what Hollywood Forever is doing to maximize the sales revenue of their 55 acres. Here's a few of many items listed on that page with the cemetery's pricing. Private family mausoleums, 50 grand to 3.5 million. Oof. Oof. You can buy a pretty nice home for 3.5 million. Sylvan Lake Peninsula locations, 3.85 million, can be developed as a place for a memorial statuary. Wow. Bronze statue in the Garden of Legend starting at 95,000. You better start saving your pennies. And Sky Terraces at the Gower Mausoleum starting at 1 million. Professor Beckham, that is well within the budget of a Florida educator, isn't it? Oof. I suppose there's a certain elitist thing. Let's say the $1 million ones are the ones closest to the top, so you at the top level can be looking over all the peasants going forward. Like, that might be a mentality for having the $1 million on top, but I would probably err that I would rather have my family closer down to come visit my grave than me being on, like, the tallest one, story 5, where I can't even go there and, touch the cover. A necropolis building, don't they have earthquakes in Southern California? Yeah. And I'm sure that they have taken into account the fact that earthquakes are a possibility in the construction of this. Because, man, wouldn't that be awful, knock on wood, that we don't need mausoleums collapsing like that and having to sift through the rubble. Bro, I can't even imagine the level of liability that would come into something like that. Wow. Especially if you paid $1 million. I mean, we're not talking like one or two things here. There's got to be multiple $1 million units for the prestige factor. So I can't imagine people that spend that type of cash going to be too happy if they're, sifting through cremated remains trying to determine who's who and what's left of their urns or something. Can probably imagine they're going to do the typical thing where you have to have nothing but the like solid bronze or something like that, square urns, not a whole lot of fanciness to it. All right. Tom's writing, it always seems to me that when my calendar turns to October, I'm in for reacquainting with many of my friends in funeral service and meeting many new ones. I'm guessing that is because the National Funeral Directors Association annual convention rolls around in that time period. Absolutely. Next weekend is the pregame to the NFDA in Chicago, and then it'll run the majority of the week. So, see you when I see you at NFDA. I'm guessing that's... if you can't be at the NFDA gathering in Chicago in late October, and even if you can, Tribute Technology is hosting what they call Summit 25 in Longboat Key, Florida. Longboat Key is gorgeous, folks. That is some prime beach stuff right there. Yeah, mostly fluff. Move on to the next article. Is your funeral home streaming yet? You know who you are, relying on Facebook Live to do your streaming services. Call your friends at TributeCast. TributeCast is such a great company. They always work with the American Board of Funeral Service Education to live stream their annual conferences. So if you are looking for streaming services, TributeCast is like one of the go-tos that I would say right off the bat, check them out. Feel free to visit their booth. I'm sure they're going to have one at NFDA. They are an established presence. Okay, that headline is somewhat of a trick question. You sneaky little devil, you. I'm guessing that your funeral is streaming services, but are you streaming in your advertising and branding strategy? I am, clearly. As of March 2025, streaming represented 43.8% of overall TV watch time in the United States. It's more like 95% in Professor Finn's household. Like, streaming is what I do. And it is something that caught my attention. My wife Angie and I would sit in a perfect subset of ages and income levels of funeral homes and cremation providers would want to reach via advertising. And we do see some attempts to reach us, most often by mailings from the local funeral home providers inviting us to a seminar or pre-need. Yeah, I'm getting those now. I'm starting to feel old because I'm getting those. Hey, have a free lunch and learn about your options. And I'm like, fat guy gonna make you feel that free lunch, homie. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine me doing like a lunch and learn for a funeral home and not tell them that like I'm a funeral director and just start asking all sorts of random idiotic questions just to see how they handle it? Like, that's the troll stuff that Professor Finn does. Haven't done it yet, but Um, poo, 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 poo. And we do see some, yeah. We do some, and once in a while on Facebook, but we are not big social media consumers, so those attempts miss us more often than not. Ditto. If I'm on Facebook, it's for a targeted purpose, and then I'm off Facebook. I got to admit, miss being the meme lord that I was when I was a full-time professor, but I don't miss like all the crap on social media and the doom scrolling. Like, no, I'm done. Um, Matter of fact, I'm really only on Facebook to check the funeral director dailies, hitting the medium daily, and Angie says she cannot believe most of what she reads on Facebook, so she just stays off of it. Yeah, like there's so much crap on Facebook, and now with the AI generation and the scammers, it's like, However, we are also in the perfect subset of people who have watched television via cable TV for the past 50 years. I stopped my cable stuff in 1998 or 1999. I can't remember. But yeah, I gave up cable and that was it. Everything from there on in was via streaming. Or I would download videos and go from there. Like YouTube is my go-to for entertainment. Now we've seen a change in landscape both in cost and access to the television programs you want to watch. And while we haven't dissed our cable TV yet, we've added more and more streaming options to our mix of viewing. Bro, ditch the cable. Just do it. And the channels we choose and the programs we watch are a discussion point when we are with our friends. Yeah, like I can tell you right now, so I play this game where I will rotate through streaming services. So this month, I'm back on Disney Plus. I wanted to go through Star Wars in timeline order, so I'm still going through Star Wars in timeline order. I'm finishing up a second watch through of Star Wars Rebels, and then moving on to Andor and the rest of it. So next month I'll probably jump back to probably like Hulu or something. I don't know. Netflix has been disappointing lately. Like, there's nothing on Netflix that I want to watch. Amazon Prime's got a couple of good things. Paramount Plus has a couple of series that seems to be okay, so I might do another month of Paramount Plus and then just, like, dive into whatever series I want to watch and be done with it. One of the big things that's just, like, biting me in the behind is I am really sick and tired of things I want to watch just being missing, either from streaming platforms or Google losing a license and then I lose a movie, sort of thing. So I'm really falling back now on buying DVDs and Blu-rays and then ripping those onto a Plex Media server. So don't know if it's on camera, but right over here you can probably see the keyboard underneath. I have an old 2011 Mac Mini that I found from a eBay surplus wholesaler, and bought it for the sole purpose of running it as a Plex Media server. So I rip my Blu-rays, my DVDs, I compress them in a format that I can stream with, I drop it on the Plex server, and hey man, all my music's on there, all my movies, all the TV shows. I just dumped 3 seasons of Resident Alien on there. So it's like anything I would want to rewatch, I can go right there and I'm done with it. That's what is behind my interest in viewer options that I've now learned are described in their own vocabulary, that of CTV or connected TV. Turns out that 43.8% of television watched via streaming is an increase of over 10% in only the past 2 years. There is no doubt, as this article from Nielsen titled "Connected TV is Transforming Advertising" states, CTV encompassing devices like smart television, streaming media players, and gaming consoles is fundamentally reshaping how we access and engage with video content. Let's talk about that for a second. This crap where I buy a TV and when I turn it on, I get an ad for that TV's manufacturer to subscribe to some some streaming service or some value-added feature for the TV. That's crap that needs to go away. Like, I'm ready to start going back to thrift stores and buying old TVs just so I don't have to turn on my TV and push the input button or OK to literally get past an ad for a TV that I bought outright. Like, that's total trash in my opinion. Yo, FTC, you need to do something about that. A couple of other quotes that may be of interest. A substantial 56% of marketers globally report planning to increase their spending on over-the-top CTV in 2025. Like the YouTube ads weren't bad enough. CTV stands out as one of the few digital channels where planned spending increases have grown year over year, with the most significant growth concentrated in the Americas. The channel, yeah, okay, great. And according to this article from AOL.com, Amazon's entry with their advertiser-supported Prime Videos channel has disrupted the streaming advertising medium and reduced the cost to advertise on the various streaming channels available. Advertiser-supported? You mean the service I already pay for that I have to watch ads on because I'm apparently not paying enough? Okay. I declare shenanigans, Amazon. It reminds me of the original disruption by cable TV on broadcast TV when one was able to choose a specific demographically advantaged for your product cable channel to advertise on instead of the high-priced broadcast channels, and that cable channel demographic focus was very good for us with the pre-need advertising back in the 1990s, both in terms of audience and price. Oh, God, yes. Like, in my role as CEO, I sit in on our marketing meetings, and we have recently transitioned to in-house marketing. So we're going to take a stab at doing it all ourselves. And I'll tell you what, my chief information officer is top notch. Like, she has probably forgotten more about technology than I will learn in the remainder of my life, or have learned up to this point. She is brilliant. And the stuff that you can get from Google or Facebook in regards to people who visit your sites, their demographics, the speculation on trends, dude, cable TV has nothing like that. They must be struggling to even come up with stuff that isn't linked to internet-based connected TV, because I just don't know how you'd get it without like having a Nielsen box or something on there. The amount of stuff they collect is scary. Is absolutely scary. Makes me not want to be on the internet or do stuff like this. You know, one of these days when I end the channel, rest assured that I'm now living off grid, like fighting bears for berries somewhere in the Pacific Northwest. In other news, DEF CON is going on. They got some cool videos on YouTube about how devices are spying on you. If you don't watch the DEF CON videos, the hacker convention, you really should, man. There is some wild crap that's out there that'll just blow your mind. In other news, I'm not buying any like connected smoke detectors going forward because holy crap, talking about spy tech. I would suspect the proper demographic streaming channel or program for your funeral home could be a very cost-efficient method of delivering your message in a dynamic format to potential client families. It's not cheap, though. Like, it really is not cheap if you want to do it right. According to AOL.com article, advertising rates on streaming channels are as low as $30 on a cost per 1,000 impression format. Yeah, at that cost, you're probably not getting a whole heck of a lot. And if you think 1,000 is a lot, it really isn't. Like 1,000 hits on that's a blink. That is the blink of an eye. Cost per 1,000 for Super Bowl can vary, but it's 2020 approximately $7 million for a 30-second spot. Yeah, but we actually tune in to like watch the ads. The heck with the football game, we want to see the ads. 58.33 when calculated as media cost impressions per 1,000. The only thing that I'm going to add to this, rather than, if you want to go back and read the rest of the article, you can, is if you are going to engage in social media campaigning or in ad spend like this, you absolutely need to learn everything you can about it. Do not just rely on pros or industry professionals. You need to be able to have a realistic conversation with those people, and you need to be able to understand what is happening. And if you don't want to do that, find someone that's willing to do that for you, because man, oh man, you do not want to get just like bombarded by stuff. We're just like, hey, I'm just going to let you do it. You absolutely want to be able to ask good questions and be part of that process. Arkansas lawsuit questions denial of claims with burial policies. Uh-oh, folks. Someone's being naughty. Let's check this out. Well, I'm setting up the meme board because we know some BS is going to go down here in a second. And we're going to have some memes or we're going to lose our mind. As you can read in this recent article from Insurance News Net, a plaintiff in Arkansas is alleging that Globe Life routinely canceled small life insurance policies when confronted with claims.
We have a problem. We have a problem. Ladies and gentlemen, we have problems.
The article goes on to say that the small policies, generally $5,000 to $20,000, are sometimes known as burial policies and commonly cover funeral costs, medical, and other debts. They are popular in the South and Midwest, where funerals are a strong cultural tradition. In more information supplied from the Arkansas law firm, the case was described in this manner. A class action lawsuit was filed against Globe Life in federal court in the Eastern District of Arkansas, alleging that Globe Life routinely cancels or rescinds small life insurance policies, typically ranging from $5 to $20K, when beneficiaries file claims. These burial policies are often purchased to cover funeral expenses, medical bills, and other final costs. According to the complaint, Globe Life asks vague or overly broad health questions when selling policies. Later conducts exhaustive reviews of the insured's medical history after death. Oh, that's some crap. That's some serious crap right there. Uses minor or unrelated health issues as a pretext to deny claims. Oh my God. It's like it's distilled stupid. Like, seriously, it's distilled stupid. Oh man. The complaint alleges these practices violate Arkansas law, which since 2011 has prohibited insurers from rescinding policies unless they can prove fraud or a material misrepresentation directly related to the cause of death. Funeral Director Daily Take, from my perspective, I'm under the assumption that policies that are known as burial policies or final expense policies are not sold under the purview of what most funeral homes and funeral directors would label pre-need policies. No, those are two different things for sure. That, however, does not mean that those type of policies are not sold by their companies for the purpose of paying for future death care expenses by general agents outside of the business of death care. And they're largely sold so that there's a vehicle with cash in it for someone somewhere. So the idea that, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're going to let people put money into this fund, okay? And then when they actually need to use it, we're just going to cancel it, refund all their money so that we keep all the interest maybe that we've collected on that. So, you know, we're running away with the collected interest while they're just getting what they paid in back. Like, yeah.
Wrong, 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 wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong.
It also doesn't mean that consumers don't buy those policies with the idea that they will have their family use at least some of the insurance proceeds for death care expenses. Yeah. Pain in the behind, got to wait for the death certificate, got to send in the claim, and away you go, right? There's some big difference between what I would suggest as proper pre-need policies and some types of policies offered by companies as burial or final expense policies. Yeah, ultimately the pre-need is connected to a funeral contract. In a nutshell, I would look for a pre-need policy to be of the whole life variety where it's not canceled because premiums got too expensive as a policyholder's age increases. Preferably for pre-need policies, in my opinion, that a single premium whole life policies are best. There's no possibility of one of these types of policies lapsing for lack of premium payments. Secondly, I would look to align with a company where once the policy was accepted in terms of the contract, the reason or cause of death would make no difference as to a claim of payment, which up to this point, I would assume has been the reality that when you buy one of these death expense policies, you know, whether you're putting it into a totem trust or whether you're putting it into a savings account with someone else with access, like that's the purpose of this. Just hopefully you're getting like better interest on the insurance policy. Funeral Director Daily will watch this lawsuit play out and inform our readers what happens. I'm sure that's going to be the subject of a future live stream. Totally interested in that. Again, dude, why do people have to like be dumb about it? Don't rip people off. Like, come on, this is crap. The reputational harm. Why would you even want to subject yourself to that? Oh, here's the big one. September 16th, Indiana court. Death doula does not need a funeral director license. Oh boy. Can't say I'm surprised. Can't say I'm surprised. Let's look at this. According to this issue of the Indianapolis Star, hey, at least there's one more newspaper still in business. An Indiana Court of Appeals ruled in late August that the state of Indiana violated the First Amendment rights of a Fort Wayne death doula. I don't know why they put it in quotes. Death doulas are death doulas. It's not like they're someone else. But all right, after it required her to obtain a funeral director license to provide end-of-life transition services. Indiana state mortuary regulators had argued that a business owned by Lauren Richwine called Death Done Differently was operating in a manner that required a state funeral license and had previously moved for a cease and desist order for that business. The court ruled that her business does not offer services under the scope of such a license, and by asking her to cease to provide the bulk of her services, the state is infringing on her right of free speech. Okay. According to the article, Richwine and the state differed on what duties they considered to be the responsibility of a licensed funeral director. It's almost like you would want to list what those duties are in your state administrative code or state statutes or regulations so that you know what it is funeral directors do. Just saying. Okay? Just saying.
Emotional, damn it!
The article states a funeral director arranges for the removal of a dead body, prepares the body, files death certificates, assists with death benefits, and directs funeral ceremonies according to the Indiana Funeral Directors Association. That's a really crap list of what funeral directors do. Obtaining a license requires schooling, exams, an apprenticeship, and various fees. I can already tell you this probably wouldn't float in Florida. According to the Indianapolis Star article, Richwine countered by inferring that her practice consists of consulting with clients to plan and support end-of-life planning. Okay, so if it's on a pre-need basis, it's fair game. She advises clients on post-death procedures, components of the funeral service, and burial options. Okay, that smells fishy. She also provides general advice to ease stress and provide support. The circuit court said the state's enforcement of the Indiana Code was too broad and limiting such access to information qualified as overregulation. They also commented that we do not see how the statute furthers the state's interest in consumer protection by depriving its citizens of the opportunity to have a neutral third party assist survivors in selecting which items and services to purchase from a funeral home. That's interesting. This is kind of like that crap that used to happen with pastors coming in with the families and then trying to dissuade them from things so that the money would go into the church's building fund. I know it's not the same exact thing per se, but it's like funeral directors can't really get involved unless it's on a pre-need basis, right? You come to write pre-need, but a death doula is there guiding these people through the entire process. And now they're also influencing the post-funeral situation. Like, I don't know that I wouldn't view that as a conflict of interest, me personally, but it's also why I'm not a judge. Funeral Director Daily Take. Tom, what are you going to say, buddy? This is not the end to this case, which, according to the article, started with a member of the funeral services industry alleged Miss Richwine was unlawfully practicing as a funeral director. There is a difference between making arrangements and being with a family and answering questions. Now, if she's playing funeral concierge or she's trying to boss around funeral directors, prepare the spank ray, okay? I believe there has to be some regulations around the mortuary science profession, especially when it comes to handling the remains, absolutely. However, I also believe that there is room for someone like a death doula, event planner, or funeral concierge to operate a business that helps those with little knowledge of how the business operates, navigate the decisions that have to be made. Ooh, Tommy boy. Oh, man. Not going to wholeheartedly disagree with you. Okay? I do believe there's room for people like this. However, I believe that death doulas, concierges, they need to have their duties very expressly listed as to what is permissible and what is not permissible, so no one crosses a line. Okay? My big problem here is you have a highly regulated industry like funeral service. Death doulas are not regulated like that. Someone show me where you have to have a 2-year or greater degree to be a death doula, and you have to pass a standardized test nationally to do something like that. I don't believe that exists anywhere in the United States at this point. So if you're going to be a death doula and you're going to help counsel people through the process, I think you need to have very clear lines of what you can and can't do. Similar to the fact that if you are a death doula, you are not a licensed professional counselor. So there are certain things that you probably can't be saying or can't be doing because you're not a licensed professional counselor. So where I'm thinking this is going to really hit the fan is when death doulas start doing things that steps on the toes of professional counselors and starts taking away from their hourlies. Then we're probably going to see that, you know, there's going to be much more conversation about, oh, you know, maybe we need to regulate this profession. And I'm telling you from a consumer perspective, why are you not regulating death doulas? Talking about people, consumers at risk for harm, they're going through a death. The entire premise of the Federal Trade Commission funeral rule is to protect consumers from predatory people. Not seeing how a death doula should not be included under some type of legislation that does the same exact thing, protects people from, especially if they're charging fees. It's my opinion that some of the market for these types of third-party helpers could be limited if funeral homes are more open about their pricing and systems of operations. Absolutely agree there, buddy. 100%. It is not only funeral homes that are a little opaque in giving consumer public information to make informed decisions. I think the FTC muddies up the dynamics of funeral service in the way they seem to want general price lists detailed for consumers. Absolutely. They dehumanize that whole process with that rule. I'm of the opinion that death care decisions are subconsciously divided in 3 categories by the average consumer. Okay, this ought to be cool. Again, it's my opinion that services and price would be easier understood by the consumer, requiring less third-party invention if they were arranged in packages of these types: disposition of body, services and celebrations, memorialization. Okay. I mean, hey man, I'm gonna throw some shout out to Tom here. That's a great way to start the conversation. First, decide how you're gonna dispose of the body, then decide how we're gonna memorialize the life, and last, how we're going to do a permanent memorialization. Me personally, I would start with the services and celebration, and then go into the disposition, because of the fact that, we know that the healthy portion of what we need when we grieve is part of that service celebration. The disposition of the body, important, but that celebration has a significant impact on what we do. Pastor Beckham writes, the roles need to be defined. They may take some weekend course, but they're not licensed or extensively trained. True. I do know that some organizations require more than others to earn a designation of something like certified death doula. It's kind of like my friends over at Insight Celebrants, right? There are many organizations that offer celebrant training. Like, everyone wants to go ahead and have a tomato version of celebrant training. And I'm not here to dump on any one organization over anyone else's organization. I went through Insight training, and I'm telling you, that was a hell of an experience. And it is rock solid, man. So, like, I can't praise that experience enough. That was really rewarding for me. I think the Federal Trade Commission should move in this direction with the note to consumers that disposition of the body portion requires a licensed funeral director involvement. Bro. No. The other components may or may not require the service of a licensed funeral. Bro, what are you doing to me? You're killing me. Oh my God.
2 shots of vodka. Then
Tom. Oh my God, I feel like Uncle Roger watching a Jamie Oliver video right now. Why? The licensees absolutely need to be parts of that. We're going to supervise it. Why would we not want to be like part of that. That is essential to our job. So, hey, man, you went off towards Mars. I'm heading towards Pluto on that. Um, I agree that there's room in the conversation for people like a concierge and what their duties are and what doulas are. But to say, hey, we shouldn't have licensed personnel or these duties of setting up services and celebrations should be someone else. When determining, hey, what color should the linens be? Absolutely. But if we're going to say, hey, we shouldn't have any role in that other than, determining the disposition, then why the hell do we need funeral director licenses? Like, that's scary, man. That's scary. But again, I can't dump on Tom. Tom's not here to defend himself. That might be the view that he's taking. So, hey, I'm giving the guy the benefit of the doubt. He does a great job with, posting this stuff. Obviously, my YouTube channel, my live streams kind of live on the fact that I go right to his stuff because everything is there, and his channel and his website is great. But it's like, ooh, boy, I don't know that I would go for being eliminated out of that and just handing that off to an event planner. Until the death care profession can get consumers to easily understand the services and prices that we offer, the traditional death care providers simply asking for more competition by death doulas. Yeah, absolutely. Funeral concierges and the like who will offer these helping hand services to confuse consumers. Yeah, 100%. And unfortunately, I think there's just too many people in the industry that do not recognize that, dude, you have to be that person. You have to be the one that's interacting with the families. And especially in some of the corporate models, the funeral director just shows up to do the bare minimum required by law before they move over to someone else. In California now, you all got that funeral arranger, 4-hour class, get a certificate. Now you can sit there and write direct cremations. It's like, you can't be serious. Why does anyone think that's a good idea? And funeral directors, what are you smoking that you shouldn't be fighting tooth and nail against something like that? And don't give me this crap that, hey, we need to have, this is a business decision and we need to make sure that we can get these families taken care of. There are better ways to do it. Lower your scores for passing on standardized exams or something. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Airlines, cemeteries dealing with wide bodies. Hey, as soon as they start talking about fat people and death, this fat guy's going to be all over that like a little fat kid on a Twinkie. Which, I don't like Twinkies, just FYI. So, like, if you come by the NFDA booth and you start throwing Twinkies at me, yeah, I'm not going to go for them. Now, cookies and cream Hershey's bars, different story. I have no shame. Just last week, I heard this article from Newsweek. Southwest budget brand. Oh, boy. Southwest Airlines announced it was ending a policy that allowed plus-size travelers to book an extra seat without extra cost. Under the new rules, passengers buy 2 seats if they cannot fit on one, but refunds may be considered if the flight does not sell out. I read that article. I laughed a little bit because, one, I never fly Southwest, like, ever. The second part of that is you have to be especially crappy to book 2 seats and then try to refund one because, hey, I didn't use it. Like, I'm not trying to fat shame other big people, but that's a level of petty that I would never do. Like, I bought 2 seats. I'm a big dude. I'm going to sit in 2 seats. Dude, I don't care if the plane is full or not full. Like, I used 2 seats. It's like, I feel like that's taking a sip out of 3 or 4 different drinks, but because I didn't drink all of it and no one drank it, I shouldn't be charged for it. It's like, come on, man. With that decision, according to the same article, Southwest joins United Airlines, Spirit Airlines, and Frontier Airlines as airlines that require a second seat be bought in these circumstances. Dude, being big is tough. Like, I get it. Finding clothes? Ridiculous. Clothes are always expensive. They're hard to find. This is the price we pay for being obese, among, all the other health considerations as well. We also learned last week from this article from the British Broadcasting Corporation, Tiffany, your neck of the woods, that airlines are not the only industry wrestling with sales requirements to wide-bodied people. Looking at you all, you can eat buffets. The article tells of Danescourt Cemetery, if I'm pronouncing that right, and Tettenhall, city of Wolverhampton. I'm going to say that's Wolverhampton and not Wolverhampton. Okay, my ADD is going to kill me. I need to know if that's a spelling error or not. Let's find out. Nope. Definitely Wolverhampton. Okay. Just making sure. Wolverhampton. Boink. Where the council announced a 20% surcharge on the sale of 6-foot wide cemetery lots opposed to standard 5-foot wide lots. Whoa, big boy, get extra 20% charge. According to my exchange rate math, the 6-foot wide rate would be in US dollars $36.50 per lot compared to a normal 5-foot lot of $29.20. Okay. Like, I go to DXL, I end up paying $60 for a belt that I could buy in a normal size at Burlington for $10. Why can I buy at Burlington? Because they don't have my belt size at Burlington. FYI, if you're a big dude, JCPenney, number 1. Dillard's clearance outlets, if you have one in your area. You're welcome. In general, folks, if you're looking for like cheap clothing, Dillard's outlet, pretty nice. Pretty nice. We got 2 here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. This polo shirt is courtesy of a Dillard's outlet. According to the article, the city defended the move, saying that it was responding to an increase in demand for larger graves with obesity rates of 33% in the city compared with a national average of 25.9%. Might not want to put that extra side of gravy on that bangers and mash. The city also commented that local authorities in Telford, Birmingham, Walsall, Coventry, and Staffordshire have already implemented charges for wider coffins. The Wolverhampton City Council has already opened a dedicated section for 6-foot wide burial plots at the cemetery. Next, it's going to be a 20% surcharge for cremation. Mr. Ross Hickton, described as a funeral director with Hickton family. You know what? Hold that. They should be discounting us fat folk for cremations. We're the first one of the day. We heat up the dang oven, and we make it more efficient for everyone else. We should be getting like 10 to 20% off. Dude, I'll die on that hill. I'll absolutely die on that hill. Mr. Ross Hickton, described as a funeral director with Hickton Family Funeral Directors. What does that mean? You either are a funeral director or you are not. How are you just described as one? Does he wear dark suits and like hand out business cards at motor vehicle accidents or something? Like, what's up with that? An independent company with 7 branches across the West Midlands spoke against the idea. According to the article, Mr. Hickton is quoted as saying, essentially, it's a fat tax. Yep. And if you fat, you got to pay it, says the fat guy. You know, people have paid in the system their entire life, paid the council tax to Wolverhampton Council, and for them to be told 20% more because of the size of their loved one, it's not really acceptable or fair. Well, I'm not going to speak for fat people everywhere. I'm just going to speak for myself. Being told that I have to pay 20% more because I'm a bigger dude and require more space, I'm okay with that. I'm basically upsizing my grave. You know, add extra fries, please. Matthew Crawley, Chief Executive of the Institute for Cemetery and Crematory Management, stated, you have a finite amount of space to work with, therefore if you need to eat into a grave... That's cute. Eat into a grave next door. Oh my God. Good choice of words, bro. If I am ever in your neck of the woods, Mr. Crowley, I am buying you a pint, sir. Say then that needs to be accounted for. You also have to account for the idea that digging the grave itself will also need extra equipment to keep it safe. Bro, cut your crap. It's the same excavator. It's a couple of longer pieces of wood. Don't talk that crap. You have my attention and my support all the way about, hey, finite amount of space, larger the space, more cost, all for it. But to say, oh, it requires more equipment, dude, what are you doing? Come on. I got to call BS at some point. Following this discussion, the council made the decision not to proceed with the extra charge plans. It was noted, however, that extra charges for larger plots was a common practice taken by councils around the country where higher charges cover the cost of providing a larger plot. Is what it is. Excuse me, a little more information on the subject. The National Society of Allied Independent Funeral Directors surveyed its members to ask if their local councils charge more for wider plots. They received 165 replies, with 25% answering in the affirmative. Okay. The BBC contacted 27 local authorities in the West Midlands, and just over a third said they charged more for wider burial plots. All right, Tom, let's have it, buddy. I see both sides of this issue. Anecdotally, I always felt nervous when I had to tell a family that an oversized or larger than average casket might be needed for their loved one. being a fat dude, I don't know. Hey, man, that's the cost of doing business when you're a big dude. Like, I don't know why you'd get offended by it. But I know for a fact people get offended when you bring that up with them because they say it's fat shaming, body shaming, whatever. And it's like, nope. If you told me that I could, rent out my back or butt cheeks for advertising for Pepsi, dude, give me the tattoo and pay me my licensing fee for the rest of my life. All for it, man. Happy to go to the beach and advertise your product. Don't drink it, but I'll advertise it. There's like any other spokesperson. It was a part of funeral arrangements that had to be done, and it was never comfortable to do so. Okay, like legit, I get it. I will also tell you that when I first started working in the profession in 1980, we had about 1 in every 75 casketed deaths that required an oversized casket. Yeah, you haven't practiced in Texas, homie. By the time I retired, that ratio was about 1 in 20, so on average, people who died were larger. Absolutely. There are lots of theories on why this is so, and I use my judgment very judiciously, so I don't want to venture an opinion. Crap food, bad habits, crap food, and bad habits. 100% sedentary lifestyles, crap food. Looking at you, corn syrup, refined sugars. In some cases, it may be out of a person's own actions or ability to be smaller. Very true. 100%. There are some people where it is medically impossible for them to lose weight because of a condition. Do not confuse that to the people that are consuming like high fructose corn syrup products on a daily basis. Those are two separate things. It's difficult for me to pass judgment on that individual. Absolutely. But the reality is still the reality. It reminds me that we all live with different situations. As for me, I'm simply grateful for my situation. I have a devotional quiet time every single day. They have a lot to be thankful for. During that time, I always make it a point to thank the Lord at 67 years of age. He allows me to be able to run a couple of miles daily and gives me the health to play golf. I'm so very grateful for that ability if I'm a slow runner and a poor golfer. 100%, man. I probably need to walk more myself. Trying to be accommodating to people of all situations is part of our duty as funeral directors. The large human being requiring an oversized casket or larger grave is one of those instances. However, like airlines, funeral homes, and cemeteries should be allowed to recoup the extra costs of that accommodation as well. Yeah, I mean, we have to do it in all other walks of our life, so it shouldn't be surprising if we have to pay extra for a casket. I'm guessing that oversized seats, caskets, and cemeteries will continue to be a tricky and touchy subject. Only for people that aren't grounded, I feel, in reality. Like, I accept the fact that, if I'm going to go ground burial, probably going to have to buy 2 plots. Completely expect that as a reality. Going to budget for that accordingly. If I'm going to be cremated, going to budget for the oversized cremation container. Like, I don't know why people just simply do not accept the reality of the situation. But again, I guess I just don't get it. By the way, I don't like the term oversized or plus size. However, I had time coming up with the right term. Use the medical term. People love being told they're morbidly obese. Take a look at least my opinion, awful synonyms for oversized casket. The Thesaurus game, you can see their suggestions here. I'll pass. It is what it is. So that's one of the things I'll tell you folks. When I speak with my healthcare providers, I use the term morbidly obese 100% of the time. And why? Because that is the clinical condition of it, and I don't want them sugarcoating it some other way. It's like, nope, use the word where the word associates, period. So I know there are other people that feel differently. That's, I guess that's the Gen X in me coming out, that when people are talking to me, I don't have that level of sensitivity. So Mr. Beckham writes, there is a couple of folks, one with pre-need experience and one with sales and marketing experience, who are planning to open a dedicated alkaline hydrolysis disposer in the wealthier part of our area. They feel that people would pay the higher fee for ecological reasons. Your opinion? 100%. 100%. I think that people will. So way back in the day when dinosaurs roamed the earth and we had to fight off pterodactyls to eat our beef jerky, I was taking my first cremation operator training, which was back when Cana was working with Matthews to offer Cana certification. And I still have somewhere in my bookcase that binder. Bill McQueen at the time was the president of Cana, and we took that training over in Clearwater, Florida. So one thing that came out of that, and this continues to be taught, I think, in most cremation operator trainings, or at least cremation manager trainings, because now that's a thing, is that people will pay a premium for certain things. One of the things that people would pay a premium for was the fact that you had your own cremation facility or cremation retort that was not being used by other facilities. So you handled only your clients and you did not accept other people's clients, so to speak. So that price at that time, they would pay up to about an extra $300 for the premium service. And I seem to think that if you are doing the job right, you're creating a proper price structure and pricing plan, that you are going to know how much it is that you can charge for that. But I also know that the people that are going to select that are not as much as a population of people who will not. So if you cannot be price competitive, like in Florida, if you're going to charge $3,000 for alkaline hydrolysis on a direct alkaline hydrolysis with no ID or anything like that, that's a hard pill to swallow when you have the budget brand cremation organizations that are doing a direct cremation out the door for less than like $600 or $700 in temporary container. So there are also other problems with alkaline hydrolysis, one being the size requirements. Speaking of oversized individuals, that, you might have to disarticulate some bodies for alkaline hydrolysis because hydrolysis requires precise measuring of the, sodium hydroxide, I can't remember, so that it does what it's supposed to without being a problem in the water supply. Now, there might be ways that you can gimmick that by, say, flushing the unit when it's done into a holding tank and then using extra chemical at that point to create a biologically neutral solution. But I can tell you on the unit that I was trained on for alkaline hydrolysis, max weight was 220 pounds. Here in Texas, that's probably omitting, like, conservative estimate, 40% of the population. Like, 220? Bro, some of the boys here are easy in the threes. So if they want that, gonna have to find a machine that does that, gonna have to pay the premium. I think that they will. I think that they're gonna find people that'll pay it. Now, will it be profitable? I don't know. Okay? So this is gonna come down to what other items are gonna be in their business model by which they can create sustainable income. Let me tell you about a splurge buy that I made. Okay, so Professor Finn loves living the bougie lifestyle. On Amazon, there is one of these neck coolers, right? You see everyone with the little fans blowing air into their faces. Okay, well, there is the 1%er version. That's basically a mini air conditioner. It's about $300 to $400. On Amazon Prime Day or October Prime deals, this ridiculous thing was on sale. And I know that, every year I go to the Texas State Fair. So I have one of these like $5 crappy ones that die after like 40 minutes, or have to take AA batteries with you because it's just going to run out at some point. And so did my due diligence on it, prayed about it, so to speak, because $300 is a lot of money. I think I paid $325 for it. But in the end, I got it. It does two things. It cools and it heats. This thing absolutely kicks ass. I'm telling you, if you've got like, the $3 lying around for something that you would want to strap around your neck that feels like you're putting on a scuba tank, but it will keep you cool and it will keep you warm and it will run solid for at least 12 hours. This is the way to go. But it is stupid expensive. You pay a premium for it. It's that simple. So I do not understand, again, one, why people that are oversized or have a problem with paying oversized prices. But when it comes to something like, hey, this alkaline hydrolysis as a single business, people will pay for it if they want it. 100%. And with this little device made by a company called, I think it's Torras, Torras, I have to admit, it's one of the few purchases I've made in the last couple of years where I have zero buyer's remorse. And on something like that, I should be having like, chronic buyer's remorse for the amount of money I paid for it. While I was at the fair last weekend, because if nothing else, I just, walk around the fair, get about 8,000 steps in, and away we go. I fell flat on my butt. So it was the Sooners versus Longhorns, I think it was, there at the Cotton Bowl. Place was packed. And I didn't realize there was a curb. So, the walls of Jericho came tumbling down. That was about 1 p.m. So if, any of your foundations shook at that point, just understand Professor Finn did you proud and took one right to the concrete. And my left knee is pretty bruised. It's pretty messed up. Like, not broken, nothing's there, but you can imagine, big dude like me tipping the scales at almost 400 pounds. When I hit concrete and I'm landing on a single area like a palm or a knee, it's going to probably do some damage. So what I ended up doing is I took this foolish thing that was around my neck, and now I put it around my knee, and I put it on heat. Let me tell you what, 12 to 16 hours of variable heat that I can put right over the area that clamps it down. So I have a completely secondary purpose for using this thing now, that if I have an ache and pain, if I can clamp it on the part of my body, that, hey, there we go. Which just further reinforces the fact that, hey, that this was a good purchase for me. Well, what is the way I afford stuff like this? Every paycheck, $50 goes into a play money account. So if I find something like this, like, okay, well, I'll take a shot at it, I can do that. So after about, couple of months, I easily have $300 or $400 in there that I can use towards some, extravagant purchase by which I can do something like this. So I will, for the sake of argument, because I believe in the product, go to my friends at Amazon. So here we are. Yeah, it was like $278 after taxes, like 3 something. Can't remember what it was. But this is it right here. I'm telling you, it's a hell of a product. And they have other versions, like less bougie versions. This is a great product if you're looking for something to keep yourself cool or warm. This is a no joke thing. Like, seriously. If you're looking for something and want to make an investment, because it truly is an investment, this is it. This is an investment. So I was playing around at the conference website today. They actually have a model internship program. I know that my friends over at the Independent Funeral Directors of Florida were kind enough to share this live stream with their population, their membership. I did not see any emails come in, did not check DMs immediately prior to the live stream, but as of like 2 p.m. today, I didn't see anything popping in from any of those sources. But one thing that the conference has on its website is a model internship program, and it's been here since 2019, so that's poo-poo on me for not knowing this when I did that leadership conference a while back. But everything's here for you, folks. If you want to know what you should be doing for a program, what your supervisors need to be doing, what the tasks should be for the interns, all that stuff is right here in this 20-page document. So shout out to our friends over at the International Conference of Funeral Service Examining Boards, their executor, Daylene Paul, and her staff. This is a great document. It was recently updated, and I think they're working on revising their model application next. Now comes the fun stuff. Now comes the, hey, found some articles. This looks interesting. Not to be outdone by other states, Texas once again proving it is the bestest state in the union. Houston mortuary owners charged with crimes after allegedly keeping bodies in inhumane conditions. So I have not read this. This is a cold reading. In April, the Texas Funeral Service Commission ordered Richardson Mortuary to suspend operations following an inspection. This was written 2 days ago. So, Texas Funeral Service Commission ordered Richardson Mortuary to suspend operations in April 2025. 2 owners of a Houston funeral home have been charged with crimes several months after the bodies of a dozen deceased people were alleged found decomposing in inhumane conditions.
Who does that?
Okay. According to Harris County Court documents, former spouses Michael Richardson, 72, and Gail Bell, 63, co-owners of Richardson Mortuary in Houston, were each charged last week with 3 counts of abuse of a corpse. The charges come several months after more than 100 bodies, some cremated and some awaiting embalmment, were removed from the funeral home. I think we talked about this back in the spring or early summer. In April, the Texas Funeral Service Commission ordered Richardson Mortuary to suspend operations following an inspection that allegedly found the facility failed to meet building health and safety codes. Bet they found that out because of the smell. The inspection was conducted after a family member of one of the deceased posted a video on social media showing the alleged conditions in which the bodies were being stored. What? According to the charging document, investigators spoke with 2 witnesses who told police they observed bodies being stored in the funeral home that was open to the elements, very dirty, hot, not sanitary, and under construction with a strong odor of decomposition. Like...
Oh, come on!
Can't make this stuff up, man. One of the witnesses told police she entered the property via an unlocked back door after funeral home employees repeatedly refused to let her see a family member being stored in the facility. Oh my God. Why would you leave doors in a funeral home unlocked? Allergies are kicking in, folks. My eyes are burning. The witness said that upon entering the building, she discovered the body of a deceased family member in a coffin covered in bugs and in an advanced state of decay, according to court documents. In total, investigators said 12 bodies in various states of decay were removed from the building and transferred to another funeral home facility with the ability for proper storage. Approximately 70 sets of cremated remains were also found stored in different parts of the building in inhumane conditions. I would love to know what that is. According to court documents, Bell told investigators that Richardson allegedly did not allow her into the section of the building containing the bodies. Bell also told investigators that the building was under construction after being damaged during Hurricane Beryl in July 2024. April 2025, July 2024. Yeah, seemed like rebuilding was a priority. Abuse of a corpse is a state jail felony punishable up to 2 years in prison, a maximum fine of $10,000. For a person that's 73 years old on multiple counts, that could likely be life in prison at that point. Richardson's defense attorney did not immediately comment when contacted Tuesday by Houston Public Media. Bell did not have a defense attorney listed for her in online court records. Wow. Just wow, man. Speaking of our friends over in the United Kingdom, proving once again that, Great Britain should rule the world. A former funeral director has pleaded guilty to 36 charges of fraud after a major investigation of human remains found at his premises, including 4 babies lost in pregnancy. Okay. Classy. Nice to know that our British friends are just as capable of being ridiculous as our colonials. Robert Bush, 47, admitted 35 offenses of fraud by false representation and another of fraudulently running a business, Hull-based Legacy Independent Funeral Directors, relating to the sale of funeral plans. He also denied 30 counts of preventing lawful and decent burials and 1 charge of stealing money from charity collection boxes during a hearing at Hull Crown Court. Dude, what are we even looking at here? How special do you have to be raiding the charity box? Oh my God, man. Just...
oh my God.
Bush, formerly of Kirk Ella, East Yorkshire, now living in West Yorkshire, will face a trial at Sheffield Crown Court on 5 October 2026. Proof that you can have a lobotomy and continue to be a somewhat functional member of society. Humberside Police began its inquiry into Legacy Independent Funeral Directors following a report of concern for care of the deceased in March 2024. The force said 4 of the fraud by false representation counts related to ashes provided to families following loss in pregnancy. It took the court clerk 22 minutes to put all 67 charges to Bush, who wore a gray 3-piece suit, a white shirt, and a purple tie. Well, sounds like someone went to Savile Row. There were gasps from the panicked public gallery each time a not guilty plea was entered.
That still only counts as one.
Like, oh my God. 22 minutes of just getting your charges read to you. That's like an entire episode of insert random Star Wars animated series here. Oh my God. A woman heckled Bush from the gallery as he was ushered out of the courtroom at the end of the hearing. Kudos to her. Owe her a pint. Bush was bailed until his next court appearance. I hope they gave him a electronic foot anklet to keep tabs on him. Dude, that's nuts. That is so nuts. Meanwhile, Friday, October 17th, 2025, fresh off the presses. Funeral home was set to embalm a dead woman who was still breathing. Here's what her mom says now. Oh boy. Need to know. A Michigan mother is speaking out 5 years after her 20-year-old daughter was mistakenly declared dead. Erica Lattimore is pursuing legal action against EMS workers who contributed to Tamisha Beauchamp's death declaration in August 2020. Tamisha Beauchamp had cerebral palsy, was still breathing when a funeral home worker prepared to embalm her body. Oh boy. The mother of a 20-year-old woman who was mistakenly declared dead and nearly embalmed while she was still alive is speaking out for the first time 5 years after the incident. Tamisha Beauchamp, who had cerebral palsy, was declared dead via phone by an emergency room doctor at her Southfield, Michigan home in 2020. People previously reported citing a family attorney. When the hell did telehealth do times of death? Oh boy, back to the vodka.
2 shots of vodka. Then,
oh my God. Like, oh my God. A spokesperson for the Oakland County Medical Examiner's Office told People at the time that Beauchamp's death declaration was based on real-time medical data, including heartbeat and breathing, that was provided by the responding authorities and EMS personnel. Maybe should have checked the batteries. But Beauchamp was still breathing and had her eyes open when she arrived at the funeral home in a body bag with a worker prepared to embalm her body. Dude, can you imagine? Just imagine the look in that poor person's face when they unzip that bag and we're like, holy crap. That's some serious PTSD garbage right there. Beauchamp's mother, Erica Lattimore, recently spoke to the public as she pursues legal action against the Southfield Fire Department EMS workers. Don't know why it would take you 5 years to do it, but you go, girl. Have at it. That sounds like an earned lawsuit. That's devastating to a family already to hear she's deceased. Prepare your mind mentally that you have to prepare a funeral initially and then to know your child is alive, Lattimore said at a press conference reported on October 14th. In a statement, Lattimore's attorneys alleged that Beauchamp's breathing was severely restricted while she was believed dead and in transport to the funeral home, leading to her actual death 2 months later. The attorneys, Jennifer D'Amico and Stephen Herbis of Figer Law, say the family has been denied their day in court due to government gamesmanship. Oh, you don't say. Government getting involved in slowing things down or just being shady? Ah, I'll be shocked. Give me a second. The family's been denied their day in court because of 3 postponements of the trial. Okay, well, that makes sense. You know, they probably started this years ago, and it's just been gimmicks since then. Most recently, 11 hours, 3 days before the trial, the government again sought another delay of the trial. Dude, that's the judge just needs to step in and go, pony up, step up, you're up, don't care. Because of governmental immunity laws in Michigan, the defense are entitled to automatic appeals on certain issues. The statement continues, this allowed the government to engage in gamesmanship up until the very eve of trial and further delay accountability. The defense have pulled every procedural lever to avoid being held responsible for their egregious actions. The family deserves their day in court. Ooh, someone's going to get burned by the time this actually gets into a courtroom. Like at this point, just ask the family how many zeros they want on the check and make it go away. Like if you're trying that hard. The Southfield Fire Department did not immediately return a request for comment from people. Beauchamp's mother says she's not going to stop pursuing justice. I'm not giving up. I will go through the long haul, however long it takes. She lived 20 years. If it takes 20 more years for this to get heard in court and God gives me breath, I'm there. Dude, make it so that your estate pursues it. Like, get that set up if you think for a second that might be a thing. Wow. That's just crazy, man. That's just crazy. Last but not least, from the Amarillo Globe News, which I think that might actually be here in Texas, if it's Amarillo, Texas. With a county body transport contract set to expire at the end of September and funeral homes warning of unfair advantages in the bidding process, Potter County Commissioners on Monday, September 22nd, postponed awarding a new deal, citing mounting complaints and the need for a fairer system. Okay. The county had been expected to approve a new contract with Schaefer Mortuary Services, which submitted the lowest bid under request for bids, blah, blah, blah. But after nearly 2 hours of public comment from funeral directors and citizens raising conflict of interest concerns, commissioners voted unanimously to delay a decision and extend their existing agreement with Job Mortuary Services until a broader plan can be negotiated. Let's see how much in the this gets into it. Job Mortuary won the county's transport contract in 2024 after offering the lowest price to provide around-the-clock removal and refrigerated storage of deceased individuals for Potter County's 4 justices of the peace. The service covers deaths in homes, at accident scenes, and in rural areas. Since that award, however, Justice of the Peace Thomas Jones, Precinct Number 4, and Justice of the Peace Robert Taylor have repeatedly bypassed the contract and called other services, most often Schaefer Mortuary Services, even though the county's agreement designates Job as the exclusive provider. Someone needs to buy these 2 Justices of the Peace an Oxford Dictionary and put a bookmark with a highlight to the word exclusive. In court Monday, Taylor defended his action, arguing that using Schaefer saved taxpayers money because the company offered to perform the work at no cost. Again, dictionary, word exclusive, contractual responsibility. I'm sure that your townships probably have an ombudsman or general counsel. You might want to ask them what exclusive means when it comes to contracts. If another service is willing to do it for free, that saves the taxpayers, Taylor said, maintaining that his choice was fiscally responsible even if it bypassed the county's bid process. You can't bypass the rules because it's convenient. Oh my God.
Wrong, 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 wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong.
Whew. Commissioner Warren Coble countered that the contract, not individual preference, must guide the county's action. The court voted and we had a legal binding contract, but some decided to do what they wanted, Coble said. Yeah, that's a fairly accurate summary. Thanks for coming to this TED Talk. Even if someone else says they'll do it for free, that should not negate the contract. We followed the process, we found a qualified bidder, and that should have been the end of it. And I'm sorry, man, you don't do something for nothing. Okay? Someone is getting their back scratched in some way if they're doing it for free, because they're not going to do it for free. You're having to carry the liability insurance, you're having to cover the cost of the transporter, and you're saying, hey, we're not going to charge the county? Bro, you getting something somewhere. Like, you have to be getting someone somewhere. Coble noted that the court held similar discussions last year and again invited all parties to find a solution. We brought in experts, we went over the requirements, and nothing changed. Families deserve to know their loved ones being handled correctly, and that's why we bid this out in the first place, 100%. Derek Job, owner of Job Mortuary Services, said his company performs about 200 to 300 transports each year under the contract. Bro, that's it? Man, I'd probably say you do 200 to 300 transports over the 2-week period in Miami-Dade County. Like, still, 200 to 300 contracts ain't nothing to be shy about. But, man, that doesn't seem like a whole lot to me. That's like 1 transport a day. Dude. He estimates that invoices for work ordered by only 2 of the 4 justices totaled nearly $50,000 over the past year. Because Jones and Taylor consistently refused to use his service, Job said it stands to reason their decisions have probably cost him roughly that amount in lost work. Yeah, 100%. And I think the county would. I think the county would be on the hook for that. It's about half the county. He said if the two judges won't call me, that's a lot of transports that should have been ours under the contract. Despite the county auditor refusing to pay invoices submitted by non-contracted providers, Job said Schaefer began offering free services to the two judges. That is providing a service that is normally compensated for free, bypassing the contract. He said, in my opinion, that is a crime. Got to be a violation somewhere. Look for it. Job also described two confrontations in which the judges tried to block him from completing transports. Oh my God, dude.
This is some bullshit.
In one case, he arrived at the scene after being called by a funeral home and law enforcement, only to have Taylor order him to leave. Job said he explained that as contract holder, it was contractual obligation to perform the transport, but Taylor refused to allow it. He told me to leave and said, I don't give a care. I would love to know if that was the word. About the contract, if you don't leave, I'll show you what I'll do to you. Job said he refused to leave, asserting his right to carry out the work. Funeral home owners argued that allowing a funeral home-owned transport company to hold the contract gives that business an unfair advantage because the first call often leads to the funeral cremation service, which brings in far more revenue than transport fees. Which is why you would want to bid on it and do the transports. Just saying. We're not questioning anyone's professionalism, but whoever controls the first call has an edge, and families deserve a level playing field. You sack of crap. We're not questioning anyone's professionalism. Then bid it. Don't be a sore loser because you probably put in a bid and you got lost. Like, that's the price of doing business. And fact of the matter is, the transport company, if they're doing a pickup and hold for the local municipality, they might lose calls. Like, that's what happens when you have a county contract, is you're taking into account the fact that, hey, you might pick up a couple people, but families are still free to go choose whoever the heck they want to provide the funeral services. So I'm looking at this as a completely crap and weak argument. Like, come on, man. Job, whose company only provides transport services, does not offer funerals or cremations, said neutrality is critical. Every person we meet is having the worst day of their lives. Families should be free to shop around. If the first call is answered by Schaefer Funeral Home, even if nothing improper happens, it creates an unfair advantage. And just because a funeral home owns the transport company, prove that they're putting, like, cards in pockets or something. Like, come on, dude. Like, this isn't hard. Schaefer Mortuary Services among providers that offer full services, including funerals and cremations. I'm wondering if the 2 hours of people who were yelling the loudest were nothing but funeral home owners who were just upset because, they lost the bid that year. To find a long-term solution, Commissioner John Coffey asked Bart Boxwell, owner of Boxwell Brothers Funeral Home, why would you ask...
This is some bullshit.
Why would you ask a funeral home owner to lead a group to investigate, like, oh my God. To lead a working group of funeral directors, mortuary transport providing justices of the peace. The group will consider continuing competitive bidding, adopting a countywide rotation system. There it is. Everyone wants a piece of the pie. That's what it is. That's the issue right there. Or rewriting bid requirements to separate transport services from funeral operations. This is such a load of crap. This screams cronyism. So I'm gonna go ahead and say the Professor Finn Magic 8 Ball says they're gonna adopt a rotational basis where everyone takes it for certain months. Dude, that's just crazy to me. I want everyone to have a fair chance to make their case. Coffey said, if the funeral home believes a rotation is the only way to avoid conflicts, let them come to the table and work it out. We need a plan that protects families, protects taxpayers, and respects the bidding process. Dude, a closed bid process is a closed bid process. People send in their dang bids. You open them all up. You see which one has the lowest one. You converse to determine whether that's the best choice, and then you sign, seal, delivered. Like, the whole purpose of a closed bid process is impartiality and fairness. Coble agreed that involving the industry is necessary, but warned that compromise may be difficult. No shit. You're going to put a bunch of competitors at the table and you're going to try to have them work out something to all their mutual agreement. Like, the only way that you're going to do that in a fair method is to grab funeral professionals from outside the county to come up with something because they have no pecuniary interest in the matter at all. Like, dude, if you're looking for impartiality, no one who can be involved in the process can be involved in the discussion of the process. Like, if you want true impartiality. Wow. This does sound like a Texas thing, actually. We can set up all the meetings we want, but some folks have already decided to do what they want to do. Yeah, including 2 of your justices of the peace. We'll give them one more chance to work together before we step in, but the court will act if it has to. If you have 4 different courts, like, what are you doing, bud? Boxwell agreed to help organize the discussion, but offered no specific proposal Monday. Commissioner said his industry experience could help competing providers reach consensus. Commissioners also adopted the county's 2025 tax rate of 0.471 cents per $100 valuation, about $6 to $8 more per month on a $300,000 home. I just love paying for things that I've already bought and paid taxes on, and I pay taxes on for every year. Coble said that the rate reflects an effort to hold the line on property tax and to avoid rent increases for low-income residents. No deadline was set for a new transport plan, but Coffey said the working group should begin meeting immediately to have a clear, fair plan. Will continue with the current provider so families aren't caught in the middle. But if it's not... Why? Oh, man. God. It's times like these that, makes me question my... my choice not to abuse illicit substances, because, oh boy, it's just crazy. That is seriously just crazy to me, man. All right, chat. Anything else? 7:50, man. That's almost 2 hours on the dot. No, I did not pull up YouTube analytics to see how many people we have going on here right now. There we go. And I'm not logged in, so we're not going to play with that. Bye-bye. All right, folks. I'm going to call time of death on this one, 10 minutes to 8 o'clock. Solely because, one, I don't know if anyone's actually out there. I know there's a little bit of lag with responses and whatnot. But truth be told, my leg is starting to hurt a little bit. It doesn't like being scrunched up. Deanna writes, am I going to the conference? NFDA conference, I am planning at this point to be at NFDA, yes. I will be there with the Pierce Mortuary Colleges Incorporated contingent at the with the Dallas Institute, Gupton Jones, and Mid-America College booth. Boo, yeah. Looks like Professor Beckham is going for trick rather than treat. Yeah, I don't know, man, I'm telling you, I'm really questioning the whole Chicago thing. Like, this is an expensive conference. Like, a ridiculously expensive conference. Professor Beckham is going to miss NFDA this year. Sorry to hear that. But no, I understand it. Like, I 100% understand it. I mean, hotel rooms in the local area, I mean, they were like, at a discount rate, they were $250. And they were sold out within like hours of NFDA opening up their blocks. It was nuts. I really have to question whether NFDA should continue to do something like Chicago, because it really is price discriminatory. I don't want to say that, hey, we have deep pockets at my organization, but we feel the bite like everyone else. And when you're looking at like $9,000 to $10,000 in room costs for your people to attend in order to run a booth, it's like, yo, that's a little ridiculous, especially considering the other parts of Chicago are no cheaper. So transport getting in, cost of the area when you're looking at like wine and dining. Um, I don't know. Costs are starting to get outrageous everywhere. I get that, but man, oh man, I don't know. Chicago needs to be a destination again. Yeah, Charlotte, North Carolina is next year. I think large organizations like them, like NFDA, CANA, stuff like that, they need to look at these non-traditional areas or quote unquote semi-large. Like you can't compare Charlotte to Chicago. Like I get that, but man, if costs are going up for funeral homes and there's less money to be had, attending conferences like this are kind of the luxury, not the not a necessity. Like I can't imagine choosing expensive places is going to increase foot traffic. I'm all for going back to Vegas. Vegas, you find some very competitive room rates. Cost of living's a little high, so yeah, if you're gonna like try to eat out every night or something, that could get a bit obnoxious. But ultimately, when I was at NFDA for Vegas, I found that to be very price competitive. Surprisingly so. I thought it would be much more expensive, akin to what's being paid for Chicago. Yeah, state conventions are absolutely downsizing because convention centers are outrageous. Um, we're lucky at the American Board to have a really dedicated team of people in our program committee. They're the individuals that put together our town halls, our professional development opportunities, and help arrange everything for our conferences. And our executive director is front and center with trying to find locations that meet our requirements that also fit within our budget. And I can tell you that in the last couple of years, some of the stuff that's come across the desk as to, oh yeah, hey, if you're gonna use our hotel, we'll give you a competitive rate for the room, but you have to guarantee us like $40,000 in meals and expense. It's absolute insanity, like absolute insanity. I saw some of the rates that they were charging for labor, set up and for rental for this NFDA conference in Chicago, and I have to wonder, like, dude, there are attorneys that don't make those type of hourly rates out there. Like absolute insane amounts of money for labor cost, for renting chairs or a table, to have power delivered to your booth, internet access. Like, I get that's a value added service, but man, I do not understand how people are getting away with charging those rates, and I don't understand why people are paying that crap. Like, the best way to give them a reality check is simply don't use their stuff. And when they realize they've priced themselves out of the market, they'll lower their stuff. Yeah, and hey, if the union wants to fight for its people, by all means. But if we then don't start using their hotels and whatnot in those cities, union's gonna have to figure it out. Like, they're gonna have to, because no one should be paying like $5,000 to rent a couch or something. That's a number I'm just throwing out. That's not a number that was actual. But it wouldn't be surprising that if there are booths, not even like very large displays, like really large vendors, but they're being charged a couple grand for just some cheap furniture and some reusable carpet. Like, it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. All right, folks. Hey, sorry I missed last month. Things just got a little bit hectic, needed a little time to decompress. Um, Definitely do one of these right before Thanksgiving just to say hi to everyone, make sure everything's going great. Yo, y'all have a safe and happy Halloween, okay? Make sure you're behaving yourselves. You're checking the candy for the kids. Um, enjoy the Halloween. Who you gonna call? We'll see you next live stream. Everyone take care. Like, share, subscribe, share it with a friend, and send on those questions to askbigbadfinn@gmail.com or DM me on LinkedIn or Facebook. Peace out, all.